Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Sunday edition of the Football Diehards live show. As always, I am Armando Marsaw, and with me is Bobby Gomes. We do apologize for the delay. Had some internet issues here, but we are good to go now. Bobby, how's it going, my friend?
Going well, going well. Just digging into some stacks, trying to figure out a correct assortment of players to take down a couple tourneys.
There you go. That's the spirit on Sunday morning, man. We've had a couple of line shifts. The Bengals and Pittsburgh game. That line has shifted. The over-under there has shifted to the downside there. It opened at 54. It's currently at 50. The Dolphins spread here actually shifted in Bears' favor by 4 points. So something interesting there. Ryan Tannehill appears to be in doubt to play today, which is likely the case of that big shift there. Aside from that, on the injury front, there's still a lot of things we're waiting for. We'll be getting that throughout the course of the show here. So, what are your thoughts with this whole situation? Are you locking in now the Bears defense as a pretty much auto play?
In cash, I'm definitely considering the Bears pretty heavily. In tournaments, haven't really decided. I like what obviously they should be one of the stronger defenses that you consider in both tournaments and cash games.
Yeah, I honestly actually was thinking of playing the Dolphins defense. They were pretty cheap. I'm just a little concerned now because I just feel like I know the quarterback position really shouldn't affect it, but I think field position changes here now. How long this defense is on the field, I also think changes a bit now. Because I believe it'll be Brock Osweiler starting, and he's just flat out terrible, guys. But we'll get into that throughout the show here. Before we jump into, we got a question: Dalvin Cook or Jordan Howard? I read Dalvin Cook is going to be limited, so I'm just going to go ahead and say for me, it's pretty easy. Jordan Howard here. How about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I read that too. So I think Jordan Howard's actually a pretty sneaky play in tournaments this week.
I agree. We talked about it on the Thursday show and on the podcast, so I agree with you 100% there. One more question: Baldwin, Cup, Hopkins, Boyd, Gordon, PPR, pick two. I'm gonna go with Hopkins and Boyd here in PPR. Just think that they're in the best positions. I like Cup, but he is going to see some of Harris this weekend, which is a tough matchup for him.
I actually really like Kupp a lot this week. Pro Football Focus has Kupp in a positive matchup versus Chris Harris. I know Chris Harris has been one of the better corners in the NFL throughout the season, throughout the years, but I think with the weather, a lot of short passes, Kupp stopping on a dime, being able to cut back. I think that the way he plays will kind of be beneficial to him in the weather. So I think the weather will affect what he does in the passing game. So I like Kupp. I don't love Baldwin, though. You got to pick two, right? I'd rather go Kupp.
Yeah.
I'd rather go
I think Hopkins is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'd rather go Kupp.
I know his matchup is tough, but still.
Yeah. I'd rather go Kupp and Hopkins.
Yeah.
If you could.
I agree there. I'm leaning more toward Boyd just because I think it's a good game environment here. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Kupp, and I think he offers a safe floor, and the targets are going to be there. So definitely not a bad call there. All right, I am ready to jump right into this. Let's dig into this game, into this slate here. The first game I want to talk about, Tampa Bay at Atlanta. This has the highest over-under of the slate at 57 points. The Falcons have a 30-point implied team total. The Bucks have a 27-point implied team total. 68% are currently on the over here. Give me your thought on this game, Bobby. I think this is probably going to be the most popular game this weekend.
Yeah, it's the most popular game. It's actually really interesting because you have two guys that are like the predominant chalk that have been pretty shaky in terms of when they have been chalk recently. Julio Jones hasn't gotten the end zone all season. This matchup is unbelievable. He should be able to get the end zone. He's going to be around 40% owned. And on the other side, Jameis is like the top point per dollar play on the slate. He's going to be the cash game lock at the quarterback position. But I still have questions with Jameis. Like I don't. Jameis isn't like lights out to me. It's interesting for me in tournaments. I'll probably be either with the field or underweight on Jameis more than I'd be overweight on Jameis in tournaments this week.
It's tough for me to have that stance. I understand it because he is such a volatile player, and there are going to be those games where he just completely frustrates you. I get that. This is just too good of a matchup for him. I think a game environment that really, really favors the pass here. Because the Bucs can't stop anyone. And he has just done so well against this team in the last 3 meetings. 10 touchdown passes, at least 3 touchdown passes in each of those 3 meetings. So just a smash spot for him. I won't be overweight on him, and I might just be kind of even on the field. I think he's going to come in like at 25% owned. So I'll probably be in that range this weekend with him. But it's tough for me to fade someone like Winston, especially his price. If he was like 6,200 or 6,100 or even 63, definitely would consider, at least reducing my exposure because of his ownership. But at this price, you can just do so much, especially a week where value's pretty thin. So I like him quite a bit. I like Mike Evans with him. Cameron Brate is someone now that I'm a little less bullish on, just because it appears that OJ Howard's on track to play today. So that should take away some of what, Brate's playing time here. Someone who was pretty much locked into being there as much as he can handle for the Bucs. So I don't think that'll be the case now. It's interesting because there are 2 running backs, or 3 maybe, but 2 running backs that I would consider here for the Bucs considering the matchup, but it's just tough because you don't know who's going to get it. It's Barber or it's Jones. So I can't go there, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of these 2 go off. I just think, this is a really positive matchup for both of them. And then on the other side, I really like paying up for Matt Ryan. I don't know how popular he's going to be, because he is the most expensive quarterback, and people try not to pay up for quarterback. So I think he'll come in at maybe top 4 as far as ownership, but I don't think he'll be in that 20 to 25% ownership that I expect Jameis Winston to be here. So I love him today. I really love Julio Jones. I'm pretty much going all in on him. I'm going to take that chance. He's 7,900. He has a good history here against the Bucs. Really, really good matchup for him. And it's only a matter of time before I know you said in the show last week or on Thursday that, it took until week 10 or 11 last year to get there. But I think this is the matchup that he can get it in. So long as the Falcons game plan for him. And I think that's the biggest problem here. Mohamed Sanu to me is a great value play at wide receiver here. Very involved in this offense, 2nd in target share for the Falcons. So good game script here. And the Bucs really struggle against the slot receiver where he lines up 75% of the time. I'm not going to talk anyone off of Calvin Ridley. Just the price is a bit too high for me. And Hooper is an interesting play now with OJ Howard potentially playing, because I think Hooper at 3,500 makes a ton of sense here. He had a pretty solid game last week, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him have another good game here. Anything else on this game for you? Any other running backs? I mean, Tevin Coleman is probably someone that
Coleman's a lock in cash for me this week.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of playing him in cash. I'm not touching him in tournaments. I just respect this Bucs run defense, and I don't know if there's enough upside to really consider him in tournaments. Do you agree with that?
No, I agree with it. We've talked about the Bucs front 7. Yeah, I think Julio's the guy in tournaments. Whether you're with the field or above the field or below the field is the main decision. I'm probably going to be a little above the field on Julio Jones this week. I hope it doesn't burn me. I think he's in a great spot. And, yeah, him, like Brate. Outside of that,
you still like Brate even with the Howard news that Howard might play? Because that's kind of been like my whole issue this morning, man. Like, do I play Brate? Do I not? Do I play him? Do I not? That Howard news really concerns me here.
Yeah, I'm not really worried about the Howard news. I'll kind of just take – I think that might actually make some people move off Brait, and Brait will still be – because like we said, like they don't really have a pass-catching running back. So like Humphreys and Brait, who run those intermediate routes, are probably going to take up those receptions that would go to the pass-catching running back. That's kind of how I see it. So I don't hate Brait in tournaments or cash games. I know Uzoma's probably – kicked up a notch with John Ross being out. If Uzoma had gotten the end zone last week, he'd be chalk. So, no, it's still a decision I have to make, but I think Brait or Uzoma and cash is fine. And if you're using Winston, might as well pair him with someone, pair him with Brait in cash.
Yeah, and I kind of agree there. Maybe I overthought it a bit. But that's why we're on the show, because sometimes I'm on a bind, and you just talk some sense to me, Bobby. And I think maybe I'll keep my Brait shares. Maybe not as bullish as I was, but I will keep my Brait shares there. Anything else in this game that you want to go over, touch base on before we move on to the next game?
No, I think we covered it. We hit most of it.
All right, so the next game is Carolina at Washington. A couple of questionable players for the Redskins here, and Chris Thompson, or running back, should I say, or AP. They're both questionable. Both should play. I don't think they're going to miss this game. That's as far as news and notes here for this game. This has a 44.5 over under. Panthers are 1-point favorites on the road. They have a 22.75 implied team total. Redskins have a 21.75 implied team total. This is a game I don't have a ton of exposure to. I still like McCaffrey, as a play. I think he's pretty much someone you can play any week. The usage is just so high for him. He's running the ball in between the tackles, catching passes out of the backfield. This is not the best of matchups for him, but still, his usage will warrant consideration any week here. Give me your thoughts here, Bobby. Is there anything you have for this game?
What'd you say? I'm sorry, kind of went out.
Is it anything you have for this game?
Which game did you say?
The Carolina Panthers and Redskins.
I think this game's an extremely intriguing tournament play. Capri Bibbs value just went up with Chris Thompson being left out. I think the total moved 2 points in this game too, as well. Correct?
It moved. It's actually moved half a point down.
It moved half a point down. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. No, I still like this game. I think that it can go overlooked. Cam Newton, McCaffrey. Neither of these defenses are really that good, and I think we give them too much credit for being good defenses. As we've seen Eli shred Carolina last week, and Breeze shred Washington last week as well. I like both quarterbacks in this game for tournaments. I like McCaffrey. Like I said, I like Bibbs. I like Peterson. I like DJ Moore. I like Samuel. There's a bunch of guys that I like in this game. I think in tournaments can kind of be an interesting pivot off the Tampa Bay Atlanta game. I'm sorry earlier you cut out when you were saying the game. I just got lost. No problem, man. The internet is something that's tricky, man. Sometimes cuts in and out no matter where you're at. So yeah, I agree. Look, I'm never gonna talk anyone off of Cam Newton. He's just not a core play of mine. I typically don't build a ton of lineups. If I was building 150 lineups, I definitely have some Cam Newton in my lineups. Thompson is someone that's interesting to me because of his role in the passing game. I just think the injury he's dealing with is very tough for a running back. So that's kind of what concerns me here. And then in addition to that, his price. There's another running back in that price range that I've kind of dug into that I like quite a bit this week. So this is just one of those games where I don't have a ton of exposure to or a ton of interest in. Now, there are some secondary plays I would consider. Like, for instance, someone like Jordan Reed to me is interesting because when you look at the tight end, the pool of tight ends this week is just not that appealing. With obviously OJ Howard news, it's going to affect Brait. I like David Njoku quite a bit, but he's in a tough matchup. So Reed is someone that has a ton of upside, and the target volume has been there. Aside from last week, he has had at least 5 targets in every game. Going into last week, he had 20 targets in the first 3 games of the season. So,
or not last week. I'm sorry, week 4. They had a bye last week. So just secondary place for me. Nothing more, nothing less here. Any final thoughts before we jump into the next game on this one, Bobby?
Any Vernon Davis love? I think there's the kid Harris who was on the showdown slate on Monday night. He should slot in for what's it called? He should slot in for who's sitting Channing Crowder in the slot. I like that play. I like Richardson, and Vernon Davis should see an uptick in targets. We're talking about tight ends not having a lot of value this week. I think this is a pretty interesting game, guys. I wouldn't pass over it in tournaments if you're multi-entering. Yeah,
and I guess someone like Harris could come into play without a doubt if some of these receivers for the Reds can sit out. We have all right. So Josh Doxson is listed as questionable. Paul Richardson is listed as questionable. James Crowder is listed as questionable here. Lots of questionable tags, but no one has been ruled out. Harris, I guess, would definitely be a value play should these guys sit out, or even if one or two sit out, just because. Right?
Crowder's been ruled.
Huh?
Crowder's been ruled out.
Has he been ruled out?
Yeah, Crowder's been ruled out.
Oh, okay. Because I have here that was questionable, but yeah, you might be right here. Yeah. He hasn't been officially ruled out. He's just not expected to play.
Okay.
Yeah, just but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, this is one of those game environments that I respect both defenses enough where I don't feel like I should have core players here, but definitely could find some value and some sneaky upside for sure here. I'm ready to move on to this next game here. Seattle against the Raiders. This is, I believe, in London, if I'm not mistaken. This game has a 48 over-under. Raiders have a 22.5 implied team total. Seahawks have a 25.5 implied team total. This is an interesting game. You have a Seahawks offense that has, really struggled, hasn't really looked that great this season in a matchup against a very vulnerable defense. And you have a Raiders offense that at times has shown some good flashes, pretty efficient, but then again, tend to struggle sometimes against a Seahawks defense that might not, be as bad as some may think, but isn't as good as we've seen in years past. Give me your thoughts here, Bobby.
Yeah, I honestly, Seattle's offense, they just continue to run the ball until Wilson's actually using his legs. I'm not really on them. I do, however, have interest in Derek Carr in the passing game of Oakland, whether that be Jared Cook. Amari Cooper is way too cheap, even though he's done absolutely nothing. And it's just is it just going to be another week? The game's in London. Marshawn Lynch revenge narrative. It seems to me like Marshawn Lynch is probably a guy who maybe wants to get in the end zone versus the Seahawks. I don't know. Might be more of a take if the game was in Seattle, but the game's in London. But either way, I still think Lynch is going to try to get in the end zone. I think Lynch is a fringe cash game play. I'm not going to use him in cash, but I think he's viable in both cash and tournaments.
I agree wholeheartedly here with you, man. I mean, I have Lynch as someone that's moved up on my board. As long as this game doesn't get, as long as the Raiders don't fall behind here, and this game stays close, Lynch could see 20 touches pretty easily here in this contest. And I agree. I just think it's a good spot for him. So I like him. I like his price tag. I don't hate him in tournaments either where he's going to come in very low owned. I don't know, obviously, if he has that slate breaking upside that we kind of want in tournaments, but I'm okay if you're mixing and matching and you're trying to look for a relatively nice floor here, because I do think Lynch does offer that. And I think he is a high volume back. So long as Oakland doesn't fall behind early in this contest, I do think his role is going to be pretty solidified here. I don't hate the idea of playing someone like Amari Cooper in tournaments. I just think there's plenty of upside. And his one-on-one matchup is pretty good against Shaquille Griffin here, who grades out below average on Pro Football Focus and Cooper has a 15% advantage rating here. So I like that quite a bit. in tournaments if you're trying to get creative, you're trying to find a low-owned, high-upside player in a reasonable price tag here. So like him, give me your thoughts, on someone like Carson, because I like him. I like him quite a bit. I think, this is a really good matchup for him. He didn't play in week 4, but in the last 2 games he's played, he's over 20 touches, 4,400 against a very soft Oakland Raider run defense. Talk to me about Carson here, because I think that's someone that should be strongly considered in all formats.
No, yeah, I'm with you. I think you have to consider Carson. I think he's a really strong play. I think he can be considered in cash games. I think I have him in my cash game lineup right now. I don't know why I skipped over them. Seattle wants to run the ball. He passes the eye test, man. He's the best running back in that backfield. So, yeah, I like Carson. I have no qualms if someone were to tell me they're playing him in cash or tournaments.
Yeah. Anything? Any love for Doug Baldwin? I'm earlier in the week I had a little bit more interest in him, but that's kind of gone away for me.
I'm worried about the injury with Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, he's not going to be playing at 100%.
Yeah, I don't think so. From what I've heard, he's probably not going to be 100% all season. So, I don't know. I just keep in mind week to week. It's just he's at a good price tag. You can play him if you want. I just don't think he's going to make my player pool this week until I see it.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. All right. On to the next game here, Colts at Jets. This is interesting. The over-under here has jumped up 2 points since it opened at 47.5 now. Jets have a 25 implied team total. Colts have a 22.5 implied team total. This game seems pretty interesting, and there is some value here that I like quite a bit, Bobby. Before I open that up, give me your thoughts on this Jets and Colts game.
I think this is a pretty interesting game. Whether it's obviously more tournament-centric, but Andrew Luck's going to have to throw the ball 50 times. Darnold's going to throw the ball a lot. Seeing what Robbie Anderson can do. He should just be in your player pool every week. Chester Rogers is in a very interesting spot. Jets are without their number 1 starting slot corner and their number 2 starting slot corner. Rogers has seen 11 targets over the last 2 games. Ryan Grant is another option. He's seen a multitude of targets. And Zach Pascal is a tournament option at 3,400. He's another play that you can consider. And also, we don't know about the status of Eric Ebron right now. Is he going to be active?
He's still listed as questionable. He did get in a full practice on Friday. He didn't practice, I believe it was Wednesday, Thursday. But typically, I mean, obviously, nothing's guaranteed, but typically when someone practices on Friday, they're pretty good to go on a Sunday. So I'm expecting him to suit up. I don't know if it's worth the risk considering his price tag this week. So I know the volume might be there, but he's dealing with a bunch of things. It's he's listed as a quad, ankle, knee, and shin. So tough to swallow there. I like Chester Rogers quite a bit here. I think he makes so much sense this week. The secondary for the Jets is dealing with some injuries here. Rogers received 11 targets last week. I think he's safe for at least 8 targets here. So I like him quite a bit. Obviously, someone like Ryan Grant is also in play. He got 9 targets last week as well. Then on the running back situation, so Crowell is going to play. From what I see, he's listed as questionable, but I read this morning that he's expected to give it a go and he's going to come on and play. What are your thoughts there on him coming off a huge game? I'm staying away just because I don't, he's one of those running backs that 1 week will give you 20 points and the following week he literally give you 0 points. So I don't think it's necessary to go there this week.
I was late to the party and I won't be on it this week.
Yeah. Nyheim Hines is someone that I was pretty bullish on at the beginning of the week. Marlon Mack is going to play. I still like Hines, but I don't think he's going to run. So his last game, 15 rush attempts. I don't think you're going to see that again this week because Mack is active and going to play.
Yeah.
But I still think Hines is pretty safe for at least 5 targets here. and these are high percentage targets, so you're usually going to come down with the catch. Still think he has a nice floor. I do think his ceiling is capped. His upside is limited because of Mac. However, in PPR formats, season-long leagues, I think he's a fine flex play. And on DraftKings, I still wouldn't, dislike the idea of playing Hines. Do you agree with that, or are you just staying away because of Mac?
I don't love it. I think this game, like I said, it's between this game and the Washington game for me in tournaments, and I'm kind of leaning towards the Washington game. So, yeah, I understand. I would go Hines over Mac, but I'm not going to have much of either. So,
yeah, I in full disclosure, I've reduced my Hines exposure quite a bit because of the Mac news, guys. Anything else in this game that you want to touch base on, or are you ready to move on to the next one?
Let's get on to the next.
We just got some news, all right? And this news is interesting because it means Latavius Murray is going to get the start. He is 4,700 against one of the worst run defenses in the league. Give me your thoughts here. We got Vikings against the Cardinals in Minnesota. Vikings are a 10.5-point favorites. This game has a 44 over under. The Minnesota Vikings have a 27.25 implied team total. The Cardinals have a 16.75 implied team total. Bobby, give me your thoughts here with this Dalvin Cook being out news.
I think Latavius Murray becomes firmly in play in tournaments and a fringe play in cash. I want to say maybe a cash game lock, but I'm not. I need to look into it more. But
yeah,
I don't really.
I need to look at it. I need to look at it too, man. But I think he's a lock.
I would rather play Tevin.
You rather pay more for Tevin?
I'd rather pay more for Tevin in that game.
Wow.
I don't know, man. Lat Murray is chalk. Like maybe instead of Carson, you use Lat. They get the game total. They get the right spread.
Yeah, man.
This just threw a wrench in everything. So.
Yeah, this is this is very tough here because
I really like Thielen now that this is a situation.
I like Thielen to begin with because I expect Peterson to be mostly on Diggs.
Yeah,
so I did.
So yeah, no, I'm with you with that, but I think I like him more now because if they can't run, they should be able to run the ball. So
this is the thing. You got a Cardinals defense that has allowed 660 rushing yards this season and 7 rushing touchdowns, man. And in addition to that, also, and I know Murray's involvement in the pass game is limited, but still 32 receptions, 300. I mean, they've allowed almost 1,000 all-purpose yards to running backs this season and 9 touchdowns. Only 5 games in. I mean, that's absurdly bad.
Yeah.
4,700, man. That's just so appealing. I think I'm definitely going to have some shares here. If you look at this, their schedule thus far, it hasn't really been, against the Niners. Cook was active, then Green Bay was a shootout, not for Murray. Buffalo this game, and I'm just going as to what Murray's, involvement is. I expect him to easily get here. I think 15 touches seems reasonable for him, with potential for more, I think. So, yeah, I'm okay with locking in Murray in cash. I would be considering him in tournaments. I still like Carson over Murray because I just think Carson's touches are a little bit more secure than someone like Murray because, like you said, if they do start struggling to run the ball, they could go to the pass here. So I agree with that take quite a bit. Man, I'm just now have to fix all my freaking lineups. All right, so you said you like Thielen. Talk to me about Thielen here.
Yeah, I think just because Diggs is going to be shadowed by Peterson, Thielen should see even more targets than what he's already seen. I think he's on a record-breaking pace, 100 yards a game, first 5 games. I think he'll make it 6 this week. Yeah, Thielen's just a beast, man. Leads the league in air yards.
Yeah, he's just playing lights out. I mean, so I agree with you quite a bit that he is the guy to play here, and I think he's going to be low owned. I don't think this will by any means add ownership to him. I think he's going to go overlooked. There's a lot of receivers in that price range that are going to draw interest. You got Julio Jones, who's cheaper. So yeah, I think this is a really, really interesting spot here for Thielen in a smash spot here. So anyone else on this side, and talk to me about a cheap David Johnson. I'm not going there. He's under 6K on DraftKings. I can see why someone has interest in him, but personally, I'm just not going to go there this week.
I think if Johnson doesn't get those touchdowns last week, he has like 7 points. So
yeah, his efficiency has been just awful. No efficiency whatsoever. He's just volume lately, and he did get in the end zone. He averaged 3.1 yards per carry last week. He has yet averaged – in game 1 he averaged 4.1 yards per carry. He only carried the ball 9 times. Ever since then, under 4 yards per carry in each game. It just doesn't this team, this offensive line is not that great, and they're going to have trouble moving the ball, I think, against the Vikings defense. In fact, I think Vikings defense has to be considered here as a strong play this week. They are very expensive, but this is a get right spot for them. They've had some tough matchups against teams like the Rams, Eagles, Packers, but we saw how good they can be in week 1 against the Niners. So I think this is a get right spot for them as far as defense is concerned. So one of my top defenses on my board if you have salary to pay up for them.
Yeah, no.
Any thoughts on it?
I think that if you can get up to them, they're a great play. Probably going to be low owned in tournaments too.
I agree. I think they're going to be very low owned here. Anyone on the Arizona side? It's a pretty much a no for me.
I hear a lot of saying Ricky Seals-Jones, but I don't know. I'm not going to do it. Christian Kirk has a college relationship with Josh Rosen, so
they played together.
Versus slot receivers. I don't know. I don't think this is a place to run it back. Maybe others do.
I don't think so.
I wouldn't do that.
Ricky Seals-Jones for me is like someone that you can consider when you're just dumpster diving for tight end any week because he's athletic. He can definitely score touchdowns. But and this is one of those weeks if you want to get frisky, do it. I wouldn't recommend it. The Vikings are allowing the 5th most DraftKings fantasy points per game to tight ends, so that is worth noting since they're so tough on the outside. I guess defenses or opposing offenses try to take advantage here of the middle. That would be the only logical sense here. But still, not going to go there. I still think guys like Brait, Njoku, Hooper. I'm sure. We'll get to the next 2 tight ends in the next game. But guys like that, I would just find the extra couple hundred and pay up for them over Seals-Jones here. That's it for me in this game. If you're ready to move on to the next one, I am as well.
Let's go.
Steelers in Cincy to take on the Bengals, a 50 over-under, which has gone down 4 points since it opened. The Bengals have a 25.75 implied team total. The Steelers have a 24.25 implied team totals. I have a couple of players that I like out of this game. To me, Tyler Boyd is just a lock for me. Really, really good matchup here. Reasonably priced. Upside's good. I just, when you think of tournament plays, I don't know how popular he's going to be, but I don't think he's going to be as popular as he should be. And he's just having a great year. He really is having a great season thus far. And a big reason why I think Andy Dalton is also having a good year. So Tyler Boyd is one of my core plays. I'm prioritizing him. I also really like here James Conner. We saw him 21 carries last week. His involvement in the passing game is pretty strong. I think his price tag is fair. The game environment really does appear to favor him here. And Big Ben struggles on the road, so I wouldn't be surprised if they lean on him a little bit more and he gets several dump offs here from Big Ben. Give me your thoughts on this game here, Bobby.
Big Ben struggles on the road, but specifically at 1 o'clock starts. So I'm not really on the Steelers offense this week. Could be a mistake. This obviously, if he does well, it's like this would be like the variance situation where Big Ben comes. So for tournaments, like it might not be the worst stack. I don't think that a lot of people are gonna own the Steelers in terms of like very highly. I just don't think I'm going there. If there's a guy I'm going to play in that lineup, it's probably going to be Connor and possibly Vance McDonald. Those are pretty much the two guys that I'm looking at with the most intrigue. For the Bengals, I like A.J. Green last week with Xaverian Howard. Their offensive coordinator moved him into the slot to kind of get him away from him, and I think that kind of hurts Boyd if they do that again this week versus who's the corner for who's Green supposed to be going up against?
Green is, I believe, going to be against Hayden.
Yes, Hayden's had some pretty good games against Green in the past. And this is my only thing with Boyd is if they move Green into the slot and put Boyd outside, I think it could hurt Boyd's value. But they don't have any. John Ross is inactive. Gio's not playing. Like there's no real tight end to speak of other than Uzoma. Like I love Uzoma this week, but these targets have to go somewhere. So I don't hate Boyd or Green or anyone in the Bengals offense. Probably outside. I don't even dislike Mixon. Mixon's gonna get all the usage. I'm definitely more bullish on the Bengals than I am on the Steelers.
And I'm with you 100% there. I was going to bring up Mixon here because he is someone that I think is going to be pretty popular this weekend. And I'm not seeing him, man. I love the kid. I think he's a great running back. His involvement in this offense is significant, without a doubt. But this is a Steelers defense that has been pretty good against the run. You know, I know the usage is going to be there, but I rather attack this defense where it's weakest, and that's in the secondary, in my opinion. So guys like Uzoma, like you mentioned, Boyd, to me, are priority plays here because this is just where you want to attack this Steelers defense. So I rather take the less owned guys here on this offense than someone like Mixon. I rather really pay $200 more and roster someone like James Conner here. So I'm not going to talk anyone off of Green, although I'm not going to go there personally. I do respect Joe Hayden quite a bit. And even if they do move around, I still think he will see the majority of Hayden in this game, without a doubt, which is good. You know, it's a tough matchup. I really do think it's a tough matchup. Any love here for Andy Dalton? I don't hear much buzz about him, and I don't know. It seems like that might be a mistake.
I actually kind of like the Pittsburgh defense as like a tournament value play. I don't really love Dalton. Like I know he's playing out of this world, but it's a division game. They're always pretty tightly contested, so I'm just a little nervous about rostering him as one of my quarterback in my player pool this week.
Yeah. Okay. A couple things. All right. So Jamison Crowder is officially sitting. Doxson is playing. Paul Richardson is playing. I know we talked about that. Maurice Harris will also be, as the third receiver here. What do you, just to quickly touch base on that, Harris is pretty much min salary here. Are you going to go there without Crowder, or the fact that both Doxson and Richardson are active, is that kind of going to just steer you away in a different direction?
No, I still like the main guy for me in that game is Bibbs. Like, how much work is Bibbs going to get at mint price? But no, yeah, I'll probably have a little bit of exposure to Harris. I think Richardson's is probably a strong play. I think Vernon Davis is sneaky with the tight end value. I know we already touched on it, but Jordan Reed doesn't seem like he plays every snap. So, like, if you can do something there, maybe Bibbs, Alex Smith, Vernon Davis stack, and then like just team jam him in around it.
Okay. All right. Before we move on to the next game, we have multiple questions here that we should get to here. So let's jump into them. Dalton or Goff with the weather in Denver? Supposedly it's going to be snowing in Denver. I'm still going to go with Goff. I like Goff quite a bit this week, snow or not.
Yeah, Goff's my favorite quarterback on the board this week for tournaments. I'm going to be very
Someone asked
on Goff.
Yeah. Someone asked, do you like Chris Godwin? I wrote in the thing, Godwin to me is a good tournament flyer. We really didn't talk too much about him. Listen, he's super risky. There's plenty of upside, very cheap. But, there's just no guaranteed targets here. So for me, it's a flyer if you're playing multiple lineups, not someone that if you're only playing a handful of lineups, I would consider this week.
Yeah.
Jordan Howard Jordan Reed or OJ Howard here.
Jordan Reed, without a doubt.
Yep, I'm with you. Cameron Brate or Njoku. PPR, I'm assuming this is a season-long question. I'm going to go Njoku just because I feel that there's going to be more secure targets here.
Yeah, I think that's the correct way to go to look at it.
Will Fuller or Calvin Ridley in a PPR? Being that there's no price, being that price is not an option for me, it's Ridley.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Ridley.
Dalton with Boyd or Goff with Cup, or mixing snowing and never. Man, I know you're gonna go Goff with Cup. I like Boyd that much that I wouldn't want to. I like Goff more than I like Dalton, but I like Boyd more than I like Cup. In this instance, I'm going to go Dalton with Boyd because I really like Boyd so much this weekend.
I'm so high on Cup this week.
Yeah, I know you, and I like Cup. Trust me, I have Cup in every single one of my season-long leagues, guys. I love this receiver. He's really good, but I respect Harris quite a bit.
Yeah, I respect McVay though a little bit more. McVay gets it done. This Broncos, I'm telling you, this is such a leverage play. Even with this weather, like I've heard conflicting reports on whether the weather's going to be during the game. If not, all the reports, there's no issue with wind. I think that's the biggest thing. I don't mind snow. A slippery footing for a guy like Cooper Kupp and these Rams receivers who can just duck and dive and stop on a dime and stuff like that. I don't know, man. I think the Rams are going to put up 40 today. I think the Rams game is the game I want to be on or have significant equity to.
Yeah.
As a
I
pivot.
Yeah. I hear it. This is where you and I differ. That's all. But I think they're both great plays. I really do think both stacks are in really strong plays this week. Beathard or Trubisky, for me, it's Beathard. You?
Yeah, it's
just I just respect Miami's defense, man. They're not that bad.
Beathard, Trubisky. Yeah, Beathard.
And then is Chris Thompson playing? I just looked it up, and according to the Twitter machine, he is out this week. So Chris Thompson is not playing, guys. There you go. All right, on to the next game. We have the Chargers heading to Cleveland to take on the Browns. This game is an interesting one to me. It has a 47 over-under. It's jumped up a point since it opened. Browns have a 24 implied team total. The Chargers have a 23 implied team total. The line here shifted in favor of the Browns. The Browns were underdogs in this game, and now they're a 1-point favorite. It's shifted 2 points. That's very interesting to me. Earlier in the week when we talked, I said I like Baker Mayfield as a pivot off of Jameis Winston in tournaments. That still holds true. I really do like Baker Mayfield in the spot. Listen, I respect this Chargers defense. I respect the secondary. I don't think they're as bad as the numbers show. However, this is still a good spot for Mayfield, who has attempted over 40 passes in each of the last two games. They're gonna let him sling it, and I also respect this offense for the Chargers. So I do think they can score points here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this game shoot out. I think both defenses do a pretty decent job at stopping the run. So might be funding to the pass here. Give me your thoughts on this game, Bobby, and what are your thoughts on here, Baker Mayfield?
See, I like Baker earlier in the week, and now I'm kind of having second thoughts just because I think the Chargers defense is a lot better than what we think. A guy that I think is extremely sneaky with all this, like these targets going around and they're kind of being overlooked, is Duke Johnson. I think Duke Johnson's in a really good spot. Chargers aren't great against the run. He averaged 7 yards per carry last week. He was upset about his role. I think they're going to get him involved in the passing game this week. I think when everyone's trying to find out where Higgins' targets are going, they're looking to Njoku or Callaway. But I think the guy who could be the primary beneficiary is Duke. So he would be a guy that I'm kind of bullish on. I'm trying to get into more lineups as we speak right now. Excuse me.
So Duke, huh? That's interesting, man. That's an interesting call there. I want to like him. Honestly, I want to like him here. Problem is just over two targets in just 2 games this season, man. You know, and that's his big role.
I get you, but there's more targets to go around this week, and you can argue that like outside of Landry, he's the best pass catcher on the team. So that's why I kind of like. I think he's a better play than, and he's in a role where like Callaway and Njoku aren't going to run the ball. Like they're going to be able to run the ball versus San Diego. Duke's going to be.
I get it. I get it. I mean, and I think Johnson's going to, you know, obviously. You see, that's what I was gonna get to. The thing is, if Hyde wasn't as good of a pass catcher as he is, then yeah, I give a little bit more love to Johnson. But Hyde's going to be on the field the majority of the time here. They're going to mix in Chubb and Johnson, you know, several times throughout the game. But Hyde can catch passes in the backfield. If he was a guy that couldn't, then yeah, I would definitely see Johnson a little bit more involved. But so far, what I've seen this season is a very unpredictable, you know, for Johnson. So it's tough for me to like. I actually like another running back in this game that's cheap. Austin Eckler, to me. He doesn't play a ton of snaps, but when he's in there, they're planning for him. They're going to give him the ball. Very efficient, can catch passes out of the backfield. I think he has a nice floor. I don't know if there are upsides there, obviously, because I think he's playing about 30% of the snaps most weeks, you know, 25 to 30% of the snaps on most weeks, which is not a lot. But still, I still think the kid is a really good running back and has a solidified role when he is on the field. So I don't hate the idea of going to someone like Austin Eckler here, especially if this game is going to be pretty close. And what it appears now to be that the Chargers will be chasing here. So I think he's an interesting flyer, someone that usually goes low owned, and it's going to give you anywhere between 12 and 15 fantasy points at only 4,200. I know you're not a huge fan of Eckler. Would you consider him though, considering you know that he's pretty much a lock for double-digit fantasy points?
The game script definitely calls for him. Like for me, I just don't know if I'd be able to get to him.
All right. I like Keenan Allen as a tournament play. He's not someone that is a core play of mine. I don't hate the idea of stacking him with Phillip Rivers. This Browns defense is a little bit better against the run than most think. So that's going to ultimately funnel to the pass here. So I like him quite a bit. The matchup is not all that great for him, but it's not one I'd be shying away from. Core play for me here is just Njoku. I think he makes for a strong play. Just the matchup isn't great. However, the volume should be there. He's received 18 targets since Baker Mayfield became the starter here, and has just been so much more efficient. When you look at the yardage that he's gotten over the last 2 games and what he started the season out, it's a significant jump. So I do think it's only a matter of time before we see a huge game out of him. So I'm going to take the talent and the athleticism over the matchup here at a very reasonable price. Anything else here in this game for you, Bobby?
No, I think we pretty much hit on it.
All right, on to another game. Houston against the Bills. It appears that Hopkins, Fuller, and Kuti, all who were listed as questionable, will be playing today from what I'm seeing. This game is one I have little to no exposure to, and maybe you're going to talk some sense to me, but it has a 40-point over-under. This Texans are 10.5-point favorites. Bills are 14.7 implied team total here, so they're not expected to score much. The Texans have a 25.25 implied team total. Give me your thoughts here, Bobby. I'm pretty much zero exposure to this game.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty much in the same boat. I think Hopkins for point per dollar is in a pretty good spot. He's got a tough matchup versus Tre'Davious White. Kuti's in a good spot. He's been getting all those targets. Fan favorite as of right now. I think I'll probably fade. And then Deshaun Watson, just don't even know if he's going to last the game. The way that they handle how he plays is just I can't even believe it. He's not going to last another 2 years in this league, I don't think. Just to how he runs and how they let him, I don't know. So
it reminds me a lot of the Robert Griffin situation, where they just tossed him out there and let him be. And I think that's terrible because this young kid could be such a great quarterback in the league, man, if they just take care of him.
Yeah, and they're not, and that's not good. So
yeah, this is a game, honestly, neither of us have too much about. You mentioned a couple of receivers. I think Kuti is going to be way too popular for my likings, considering I don't know. I just don't think this is a game script where they're going to need to throw. You got an injured quarterback. In fact, I want to have more interest in someone like Lamar Miller, to be honest with you, just because he's going to play. He practiced. Problem is that, he was active last week and, didn't play, didn't even step on the field. Blue got 20 touches, was involved highly in the passing game. So kind of a sticky situation for me. If I knew Lamar Miller was going to be out there the majority of the snaps at 4,700, I would pretty much lock him in every lineup. But it's not something I know. So I don't want to play the guessing game here. If I do sprinkle him in some lineups, it's because I'm making more lineups than I usually do. So nothing else for me in this game. On to the next game at Chicago and Miami. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned this. Lots of movement here. The over-unders went down by 3.5 points here. It's a 40.5. Now, the Bears are 6.5-point favorites. They have a 23.5 implied team total. The Dolphins have a 17-point team total here. Line shifted 4 points, Bobby. This probably has to do with the Ryan Tannehill news, who is not going to play today. I believe it's going to be Brock Osweiler to get the start here. Give me your thoughts on this game here, man.
Bears D and more.
Yep, Bears D.
And all the Bears D. And Jordan Howard's very sneaky in tournaments, although I probably won't play him and kick myself for it afterwards. Tariq Cohen also. Trey Burton,
this is huge, man. This is a one of those decisions here where I think, first of all, I think Bears are locked in. Bears are locked in as the top defense of the slate, in a good matchup here. They've been already efficient, and now get a backup quarterback to play under center here. So like them quite a bit. Like Jordan Howard. Problem is just I think this is a really, really good matchup for someone like Tariq Cohen here at 4,600. The Dolphins really do struggle against pass catching back. So I'm kind of torn between the two. I will not play two in one lineup, but I wouldn't be surprised if they both had big games here. Not at all, because the secondary for Miami is pretty respectable, which could cause trouble for the receivers for the Bears. So I wouldn't be surprised here to see both of them succeed. I still don't know which one I'm going to be playing in my tournament lineups, but I do want exposure to one of these two here to correlate with the defense. Aside from that, though, Bobby, this is a game that I'm completely staying away from. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm staying away from it completely. That outside of the Bears D, this game's going to be brutal, very bad.
Yeah, I was invited to go to this game, Bobby, and thankfully I will not be attending. Uh, thankfully, I won't be there to witness what I think is going to be a very bad game, like you said. Um, Now moving on to a game that's not going to be as bad as the Dolphin game. Rams heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. This game has a 50.5 over under, shifted 2 points down. The Rams have a 28.5 implied team total, and the Broncos have a 22 implied team total here. Bobby, give me your thoughts on this game. I know you are very bullish on the Rams, so let everyone know.
29 implied team total. I think they're going to pound this Broncos team. I think this Broncos defense is bad. I think they're going to throw the ball when everyone thinks they can't. I think they're the best passing offense in the league. I think the snow's not going to bother them. Saying that there's no wind just makes it like, all right, if people are worried about snow, that's fine. But I've seen quarterbacks put up great games in the snow. I also heard that the snow is not even going to affect the game. It's going to be before the game. So if that's the case, the Rams are in line to put up 40. You can run it back with Phillip Lindsay. I like Kupp is probably my favorite receiver. I like tagging him up with Woods. Should have some Cooks in there. I like Goff, and obviously if you want to pay the price tag and get the full end of that stack, it's Todd Gurley. The other thing is 29 implied team. Like, I don't think Gurley's going to score another 3 touchdowns again. So these points have to come from somewhere. If he gets 1 or 2, I don't know. I still think they're putting up at least 40 points in this game. So I think I'm all over the Rams. And I don't think I think it's an easy fade of Jameis Winston. Easy fade, Jameis Winston. Easy. John McVay.
Oh, man.
John McVay and the Rams are Dirk Cotter and Jameis Winston, right? I think I'm going to go Sean McVay and the Rams. That the new greatest show on turf, everywhere.
There you go. I'm not as high on this offense as you are, but I do like them quite a bit. They're probably a top 4 offense for me. You have them ranked 1. They're top 4, 3 or 4 for me this week, for sure. But I'm just not, as bullish as you are. I'm okay with paying for Todd Gurley, really, at 10K. I know it doesn't seem like a smart thing to do here, but the guy is just a beast. He's pretty much a lock to get you 25 points if you can fit him in. Okay, so this is what I would do if you can fit him in. Don't worry about paying that price. However, I'm not going to make a ton of adjustments to my lineup to fit him in. So,
Capri Bibbs should get you to fit him in. Just throwing it out.
You see, but you're really going to play Capri Bibbs here?
Yeah, I am.
Wow. It's
play Ito.
Yeah.
If not, Duke Johnson. I'm not going to play all Capri Bibbs. You can get him in.
Okay.
And I'm fading him a lot too. Like, he's not. I'm more on the passing game. Let's not. Like, I'm rostering Julio. My highest owned running back is probably going to be Zeke Elliott, to be perfectly honest. So.
Okay, and I can see that. I like Robert Woods quite a bit this week. He's probably the guy I'm most bullish on this offense, to be completely honest here. I think it's a really good matchup here for him. I believe he's going to be getting Bradley Roby, so smash spot for him. Do you have Kupp ahead of him, right? You have Kupp ahead of Woods and Cooks, right?
Yeah.
Who do you have second on this receiving core?
Woods. I kind of Woods and Kupp are like 1A, 1B.
Okay. Yeah, because that's where I'm at right now. I have Woods pretty much locked in a heavy amount. So I don't know. I respect Harris, man. I'm a little. I think Kupp is gonna be fine. I just respect
Football Focus sheet. It's not. I'm telling you. You wear.
Yeah, but they're grading out Harris for his production this season, and he's still grading out to be pretty good.
It's how his production today, and that's this season. It's not last season.
Yeah, I get it.
You're ball and burn him in week 1. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Here we go. It's going to be a 5-touchdown game for Cup, man.
What?
It's going to be a 5-touchdown game for Cup, and all my Woods shares are going to go down the drain.
Well, I like Woods. I've basically stacked Cup and Woods in every lineup, so like,
okay,
it's not like for me. I'm on both.
Okay. Anything on the Denver side that's popping out of you up?
Lindsey.
Yeah, you're gonna play a lot of him.
Lindsey and Hewerman. Yep.
All right. Yeah, you're far more bullish on this game than I am. So, ready to move on to this next game, Baltimore, Tennessee. This is a game I only have one play in and one play only, and that is the Baltimore Ravens defense. Aside from that, nothing else for me here. Just not a game that I have a ton of interest in. 43 over under, a 2.5-point spread. Baltimore are road favorites here. Any different takes for you in this one?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right, on to the final.
Possibly.
Huh?
John Brown, possibly.
I'm never going to talk anyone off John Brown's. The volume is there, but just to me, it's just not necessary to go there this week.
Yeah.
All right, on to the final game of the week here for us, and one you alluded to that you have a high exposure to a running back here, and I do too, but it's a different side of it. But Jaguars at Dallas, 40-point over under. The Jaguars are 3-point favorites. They have an implied team total of 21.5 points. Dallas Cowboys have an implied team total of 18.5 points. Talk to me, because you said you will be having a lot of Zeke here.
Yeah, I'm going to have a lot of Zeke. I just think that they're at home. It's easier to run the ball at home. I even like Dallas D a little. They're going to be home dogs. I think that they can – I don't know. I just think he's going to get – even if they fall behind, he's game script independent. He's been using the passing game. He's going to get 20 touches. I don't hate Zeke. I think he's in a good spot to make cash game value and maybe have a little bit of a ceiling in tournaments.
Yeah, I like Zeke quite a bit. I actually like him in tournaments because I think that the matchup is tough, but his ceiling is through the roof, and his involvement in the passing game really give him plenty of upside here. Even though this offense has struggled, he still continues to get plenty of work, plenty of volume, still producing pretty solid numbers. This is the cheapest he's been all season long. And even though the Cowboys are underdogs here, again, Elliott's involvement in the passing game really does not, hurt his chances to be on the field here. He's the best player that they have by far. I also have interest in TJ Yeldon. I like him quite a bit, actually, 6,400. He's going to be on the field. He is going to catch passes out of the backfield. If he could play 100% of snaps, I'm pretty sure that they're going to give him 100% of snaps. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I do see him be on the field for at least 80% of the offensive snaps today. I think he offers both nice upside and a strong floor here. And I think no one's going to be on him this week. I really don't see anyone being on him whatsoever. So I'm going to be, pretty invested here in Yeldon in a matchup where I think he should easily pay off this price tag. Do you at all care for someone like Yeldon?
Yeah, I like Yeldon. I think he's in a good spot. The Cowboys' defense looks like it's going to be a little stronger this week. I think they got a couple guys back just to give you the heads up. So, I
actually respect their defense quite a bit.
So I'm not like full go on Yeldon, but.
Yeah, I'm not all in on him, but I am going to have some shares. I just think that his role is so significant, with all the injuries to this backfield, that there's just a safe amount of touches here, which is why I'm going to be taking a shot at him. If I can predict the touches, I like kind of targeting that running back there. Aside from that, though, this is a game where I don't have anything else. I don't mind playing either defenses, to be honest with you. I actually think Dallas defense is a very sneaky tournament option. They're super cheap. If I'm not mistaken, it's 2,300 or 400 here. Actually, yeah, 2,300. I think they're a pretty sneaky option. this week. Jaguars are not at all an imposing offense here. So, any final thoughts on this game, Bobby?
I think we pretty much hit on all of it.
We got some questions here that we got to address before we get off. I know you have to get going, and so do I. There's a lot of adjustments that probably need to make with some of this injury news. Votes. Freeman, Royce Freeman, Mike Davis, Gore, Morris, PPR need 2. Thanks, fellas. Eesh. Wow. Guess Mike Davis and Morris would be my guys.
Yeah, Mike Davis and Morris.
Who will replace Chris Thompson? Bibbs will probably see some more snaps. I just think they're going to feed Adrian Peterson all he can handle, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I know you have a different take on that. I think you think Bibbs will be on the field a little bit more.
Yeah, I think Bibbs is going to be on the field a little bit more.
Do you trust Cohen today or go to the waiver wire? I would play Cohen, especially if you're saying that there's not much on the waiver wire. Do I trust him? No, because he does not have solidified work. However, this is a phenomenal match for him. And if they're game planning to the Dolphins' weakness, they're going to put Cohen on the field often today. I think last week it was just more of a they had a big lead, so they didn't need to play Howard, which could be the case again this week, guys. Who would you do with now, OJ Howard or Cameron Brate? I would still lean Cameron Brate over Howard, but I'm not as excited as I was about Brate. How about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I'd still lean Brate.
All right. I dropped Howard and pick up Brate last week because Winston likes Brate a lot. Stick to Brate. I would stick to Brate over Howard. How about you?
Yeah, I'd stick to Brate.
It's the same question, yeah, but from a different person. So, all right, and we have Tate has a bye. I have Cobb, Travis Benjamin, Dorsett on my bench. What do you think? Is Cobb going to play? I would just roll the dice that Cobb plays and get him out there because those options are not that appealing. How about you?
Yeah, the same thing. I'd leave Dorsett in until maybe hear something throughout the day. And just hope Cobb, you can switch Dorsett out for Cobb before the night starts.
I agree. Any final thoughts before we get going, Bobby? I know you and I both have to run to make some final adjustments. Lots of news popped up this morning that can make some changes. Any final thoughts on the slate?
No, that's pretty much it. Just the Rams in Denver today. Don't overthink it.
There you go. Don't overthink the Rams in Denver. I think they're a great option, and I'm also saying
Washington, Carolina is a good one too.
There you go. All right, guys, you ready to hear from Bobby? I am Armando Marsal. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Armando_Marsal. Bobby, give them your Twitter and Instagram account, and we will
Bobby
get going.
Gomes DFS.
All right, guys, good luck to everyone, and we will see you next week.
Next week, guys.